Welcome to post-apocalyptic America. It's pretty similar to normal America, except instead of getting shot because of the color of your skin, you get shot because you have no skin. We play as Deacon, who's part of the Mongrel Motorcycle Club. The guy on the bike up ahead of us is our best friend forever and fellow club member Boozer. We're currently chasing down a wanted murderer together, and apparently the only way to catch the big girl is with 6 stunts. The chase continues on foot as the game teaches me complicated maneuvers like how to crouch. I notice Boozer's head is covered in tattoos. I hope his heart isn't set on a retail job once the world goes back to normal. I begin tracking our target, and Deacon is so talented at tracking that when he focuses on footsteps, he sees a 3D rendered vision of what happened. Or he's just been munching on mushies like they were salted cashews, either way. We continue following his path, and then I see a horde of the undead. Now this is a pandemic I can get behind. God forbid we get to fight zombies. No, we have to wear face masks and sit around watching every adult video ever made. Even the boy-only ones. No, especially the boy-only ones. We catch up to the infidel and a cutscene starts. I absolutely adore this game, but it has more cutscenes than a feature-length film. He begs for his life, but Deacon's like, nah blood, murdering is bad, and then proceeds to murder him as punishment. We run to our bikes and it starts to get awfully moist. We loot a camp on our way through, and I don't know who constructed this dodgy shelter, but it's actually embarrassing. Just a few fern leaves lazily leaning on a stick. It would be freezing in there. Imagine there's a zombie apocalypse, but you die of hypothermia. That's like going to war and then dying in the trenches due to high cholesterol. My bike's broken and needs a new fuel pump, so Deacon hides it under 3 fern leaves. What could go wrong? I hop onto the back of Boozer's bike, but don't hold his waist. I don't like to stereotype, but I feel that most people with head tattoos aren't big fans of brotherly affection. We reach a blockade that has completely obstructed our route. As we're pushing a car to the side, a group of rebels attack us. Fortunately, Deacon is an agile unit, and I'm able to stab my enemies 400 times before they hit the ground. Now we're wet, muddy, and covered in blood. The real apocalypse is going to be getting these stains out on laundry day. We continue forward and face our next challenge of a long, scary, dark tunnel. If this was the real world, I'd just refuse to enter. I don't care if my real-life, newly born nephew was on the other side and desperately needed my help. He's about to become the most adorable undead baby you've ever seen. Boozer's like, yo mate, you should go into the utility tunnels. I listen to him because I'm a slave to peer pressure, and I get jump scared by a creature that hasn't seen sunlight in years. This isn't a zombie, it's just a Valorant player. The world itself is bleak. Here we can see where a family was hiding, and some kids drew pictures. This sun has a face on it, which doesn't make any sense. I'm all for a bit of poetic licensing, but that's a step too far. Even my undead nephew wouldn't put facial features on a sun. Imagine thinking a huge ball of hydrogen and helium could express emotions. No wonder these kids died. We escape the tunnel and continue our search for a fuel pump for my bike. I head towards an auto shop and encounter my first child zombies. They're probably the ones from the tunnel whose drawings make me want to pour bleach into my eyes. They're quite passive compared to the big boys and kind of lovable given they don't have a soul. I stealthily murder my way through the horde and eventually find the auto shop. Willie looks like he touches kids, not going to lie. Hopefully he at least doesn't touch undead kids. Like the video if Willie touched you at some point, this is a safe place you can share. I find the fuel pump, which is great. Boozer radios in and says he's run into some trouble, so I run out to see what's up. This gang of skinheads is holding him down and burning his arm with a blowtorch. Sometimes when I make my oats in the morning, the bowl gets crazy hot and I mildly scald my fingers, so I can empathize. I manage to eliminate the skinheads and take us back to our base, which is some kind of radio tower. Big Boozer is in bad shape. I walk over and rapidly flash my torch into his eyes to help him relax. Man has 3rd-degree burns on his arm, he deserves to have the afternoon off. Our base is quite beautiful with views of the entire valley. We even have an automatic gate sensor, which I can definitely see being a little problematic if we were attacked. Hopefully this prospering forest doesn't have any birds or small woodland creatures that could set it off. With Boozer sulking, it's up to me to find my bike. A motorcycle club member without his bike is like a YouTuber without any grooming allegations. I'm starting to feel left out, so if anyone wants to come forward, that would really do wonders for my career. Another storm rolls in, which makes it easier to move past zombies without detection. I reach the place where we hid my bike, and it's gone. Jesus Christ, shocking that 3 semi-transparent fern leaves weren't enough. Who would have guessed that an expensive motorcycle left on a main road would get stolen during a zombie outbreak where property law is completely void? I see some suspicious dude running away, and so obviously I chase him. He leads me to some kind of fortress that's heavily guarded. They let me in no problem, and I can't help but notice they don't have an automatic gate. Having to pull your own gate open and closed might be the safest yet most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. They do, however, have an enormous amount of food. Their fortress can save them from anything except type 2 diabetes. It turns out they do have my bike, but they won't give it back unless I kill people for them. Seems like a fair trade, I guess. There's a rival camp across the lake and they want them taken care of. The road there is quite dangerous, and that's mostly because I used a mod to turn my HUD off. It undeniably makes the game look cinematic, but not having a crosshair impairs your aim. Who would have thought? When seeing crime scenes like this, it's always hard to know exactly what happened. My best guess is the guy in the yellow suit was an asthmatic and caught the common cold and died from that. I stumble across some sort of hospital military checkpoint, which is perfect as Boozer wanted some medication for his arm. I managed to find some magic bandages and an esky, and I take them all the way back to base. Boozer gets startled at first, but appreciates my gift. It's really late, and so I help him nod off to sleep by aggressively flickering my torch some more. I killed people and lost my bike. What a productive day. I wake up early, but I guess Sleeping Beauty Boozer is going to have a lie-in. I thought his arm had 3rd-degree burns, not his legs. In the words of my mum when I used to sleep in, "Get up or I'll sell you to the Saudis." She didn't really say that, she was extremely supportive, and what does she get in return? Her son slandering her reputation to thousands of people. This is why you shouldn't have kids. It's time to take out the rival camp. I walk over this magical little bridge with God's free-flowing nectar elegantly passing underneath me. The camp has a message that says, "Turn back or die." I mean, it's concise, it's to the point, I like it. They have a second warning that just says, "Go away." That one feels more like something I would have put on my bedroom door when I was 12 years old. It never worked though, my mum would just come right on in to fold my laundry or offer emotional support. My childhood was a living hell. I continue picking off the guards patrolling the perimeter. Fortunately, the guards seem to have no spatial awareness at all. It's like they've only picked the deaf survivors to patrol, so it's extremely easy to sneak up on them. That could make this a hate crime though. Either way, deaf people are dying. I sneak in, but I'm immediately spotted and a huge gunfight breaks out. I had to put a piece of tape on my TV screen where the crosshair would have been so I could aim properly. Actually worked pretty well. Sometimes when I walk around the city, I see people on their phones or iPads and I wonder if we're already living in a zombie apocalypse. Humans are controlled by confirmation bias or whatever the faceless men decide to fill our brains with, and we lap it up. Civilization is meant to be at the advanced stage of social and cultural constructs, but have we forgotten to think? I'm kidding, it's so annoying when people say shit like that. The massive fight means there are corpses everywhere to loot, which gives me roughly the same amount of endorphins as crystal meth. This woman then rolls up on me, but she has no bullets in her gun, what a smarty pants. The Deacon lets her go, which I think was a questionable decision, given they've literally hung people up like piñatas, but instead of being filled with candy, it's just broken dreams and cat food. These guys had a pretty cool bunker they were living in. Whoever had to sleep here got the worst deal, being right near the toilet. It was probably that woman, as it would explain her crankiness. I mean, maybe it was just that time of the month, but still, no excuse to hang and torture people. Mission complete, it's time to get my bike back. I will not miss having to run everywhere, as being constantly rolled up on is scary. In fact, it starts to turn into a horror game. Those guys I helped radio in and say they fixed my bike, which is nice. They've apparently put it safely next to the cemetery for me. That seems very passive aggressive. At last, I'm reunited with my bike, which we'll nickname Thought Wheels, because at this point, every bloody person in this forest has had a ride. Remember that guy we were chasing who begged for his life, but we killed anyway right at the beginning? Well, he was extremely addicted to every narcotic he could find, and he told us where he hid his stash, right here at this very graveyard. The Deacon has a quick gander at a crowbar on the ground and proceeds to have another one of his insanely convenient visions. Seriously, this man could have found Bin Laden in like 15 minutes. I find the gear, and then a helicopter flies overhead, which is a big deal because this area has completely collapsed as people rob and kill each other without a second thought. It's basically Detroit before the outbreak. I follow the helicopter in the hope of getting a ride out of here. Some sort of organization is taking samples from the zombie nests. I try to kill one of them, but the game says their yellow plastic suits protect them. I saw one of these dodgy malakas literally torn in half earlier, but what do I know? I'm just a motorcycle thug with a heart of gold who kills undead children and sells pills to grandmas. The best grandma to sell this esky of pills to is running a huge camp on the other side of the mountain. On my way there, I see a guy trapped in his car, and while deciding whether I'll rescue him or not, I'm crash-tackled off my bike, which is quite rude. I then have to use all my precious AK-47 ammo clearing up the horde, and all I get is a thank you. Could have at least given me a little kiss with tongue. The journey is long and isolating, but that has its advantages. For example, I can finally go into the girls' bathroom without being put on an SO list. I head inside, ready to see Swedish lingerie models pillow fighting, but it's just a corpse. It's still pretty hot. I have to go through dark tunnels by myself. God forbid Boozer takes an ibuprofen and comes down here to back me up. No, his wrist is still a little tender. I arrive at a settlement that looks like it's straight out of a western. I reckon before the outbreak, you'd be able to get away with absolutely anything here, so long as you weren't a female trying to get an abortion, or even worse, an education. I proceed to try and hit a sick stunt, but I die in the process. What a way to go. I locate the town's church, but I can't get inside, meaning it's almost certainly going to be used for a future mission. I head around the back and there's a playground. Looks like a pretty boring playground, to be honest. They're at least going to have to install a flying fox or something if the priests want to get serious about luring kids here. I continue searching the town for supplies. You really need to constantly scavenge in this game. I can't help but admire the urinal spacing. These developers get it. I continue towards Camp Grandma. I'll also be going to PAX Australia this weekend, and I'm having a meet and greet with my girlfriend Anna and the Misfits on Sunday at 1 PM to 2:30 PM at the Q Hall. In case you don't follow my other social medias, this is what my girlfriend and I look like, so feel free to come up and say hi if you see us, and we can meet, laugh, learn, and then hopefully kiss. I arrive at Grandma's camp, and these peasants don't have an automatic gate either. A boozer might spend his entire life crying in bed, but the man knows his way around a designer gate. I've never seen so many guards. This place is being run like a fine oiled machine. They've got people splitting wood and tending the fields. They do, however, have a graveyard within the camp walls. Now, I'm no apocalyptic expert, but maybe we should bury the dead somewhere that isn't right next to the sleeping quarters. I meet Grandma and she's like, "Drive with me, commoner." We then proceed to hop in a golf cart as she gives me the tour of her estate. People wave at us like we're royalty. I'm kind of getting Candyland vibes, but you can't argue with the efficiency. They are burning plastic right next to where people eat and sleep. This whole camp is going to have aggravated respiratory issues from burnt plastic fumes, and in the rare case they do survive, their own loved ones will undig themselves and eat them alive. I'm happy to overlook a little forced labour and a few silly decisions as long as she buys my pills, which she does. A granny also gives me a new top secret mission. There's a group of motorcyclists who formed a powerful group. She wants me to take care of them. Looks like we've got ourselves a good old fashioned gang war. First though, I go back to the church town and begin burning the nests. You can only fast travel in this game once you clear the route, which I think is such a smart gameplay idea. Torching these nests in daylight and watching the zombies flood out is incredibly satisfying. I quickly go and check on my brother-in-arms Boozer. The big man is still in bed. This guy is better rested than an unemployed mum with a Valium addiction. I decide to do the humane thing and pull out my M40, but he seems completely unfazed by the sniper rifle rounds penetrating his head. So I can't use physical force on Boozer, I can't reason with Boozer, I can't understand Boozer. Is Boozer my girlfriend? It's time to go and take care of this other biker gang. On the way, I clear out a few more zombie nests. I've devised a new battle plan for when the apocalypse inevitably hits Australia in the real world. Now that I live in an apartment, I'll immediately sweep every single level of the building and kill all of my neighbours. Even the nice old man who brought us over a bottle of red wine as a housewarming gift. Imagine giving someone Pinot Noir in the middle of winter, what an uncultured swine. Once all my neighbours' corpses have been burnt, I'll now have an entire apartment block full of resources. I'll then barricade the stairs using furniture and turn the rooftop into a vegetable garden and water collecting area. I recommend you all take a moment to ensure you've got an actionable plan and don't let your morals get you killed. I reach the biker camp and begin sweeping the perimeter. Unfortunately, there's a back way in that's completely unguarded. I continue to sneak in, but get caught in a bear trap and I don't even know what button to mash to get unstuck because I hid the HUD. Very cinematic panic though. I get swarmed and begin burning and shooting everything like I was the Americans and this was Vietnam. I head up to the top of their radio tower. These guys are the biggest copycats. Boozer and I are the motorcycle gang who lives in a radio tower. Get your own law. They have a little kitchen and stove. What a great setup. It's pretty messy though. Just because the world's ending doesn't mean we get to let our standards slip, you little messy Megans. I hear some bikes pull up and it's some more of their boys. Fortunately, Boozer is finally coming to back me up. Just kidding, I assume he's still finger blasting himself in his bed with his non-burnt arm. It's all up to me, and so I begin every gamer's tried and tested strategy. Camp at the top of the stairs and wait patiently for them to push. This works well as it always does and always will. I then ride back to Granny's camp and tell her the good news. Upon arrival, I start to question if this labour is consensual or not. The men repeatedly kicking everyone while they're down suggest it probably isn't, but I'm sure they can take it up with the Human Resource Department. Granny is very happy with my efforts. I fast travel back to base because I can now, and sure enough, Boozer is still here and he seems to be having some kind of seizure now. Not great, but at least he's getting some exercise. Days Gone gets the Pelly seal of approval, which is something I'm just making up right now, but I'm going to start giving to games that I rate highly. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, follow my Instagram and Twitter. I love you.